The story starts with an introductory note on a prestigious and luxurious 5-star hotel known as the King's Hotel, where an interview is going on to select new employees. We are then introduced to our female lead, Juhee, who is also taking an interview. As she was about to enter the interview room, her heels broke, but this didn't shake up her confidence, and she entered the interview like a girl boss. As she enters the room, she finds 3 interviewers, among them Gina, who is an influential lady on the hotel board. The interviewers ask her to play the piano with no piano in the room, but with her quick thinking and confidence, she plays her fingers in the air as if she were pressing the piano keys and mimicking piano sounds with her mouth. Either she or the interviewers are definitely cracked in the head. And just like that, Juhee went back home without any expectations. She never expected to be selected in the first place. She goes back home and talks to her friends about the interview. As they were having fun, a guy asked for her number. After that, Juhee and her other 2 friends go out to party and dance the night away. The next morning, she wakes up to a call, and she is shocked, surprised, and flabbergasted to hear that she was selected at the King's Hotel to be an intern. I would be surprised too if they selected me for playing an imaginary piano. The scene shifts, and we see a guy jumping out of a helicopter and landing toward the King's Hotel with a parachute, and it turns out that this is our male lead, Sungmin. But after he lands, he realizes that he was not supposed to land on that building, so he goes to the King's Hotel, where he is also an intern. The team leader supervising them gets distracted because of Sungmin's dressing style, his branded clothes, and his watch. Sungmin sits down to start working, but he is in disbelief because of the inefficient way the employees are working inside the King's Hotel. There he meets with a nerd named Jian, who advises Sungmin that he shouldn't slack off like that, or he would get fired. He is a good person, as he encourages Sungmin to work hard and says that if they work together, they can get through the tough work. As Sungmin has trouble with his work, Jian decides to help him. But because of the interference from the team leader, things go wrong, and the leader blames it all on Jian when the manager comes to solve the issue. Seeing such injustice, Sungmin loses his patience and tells the manager to stop, or he will get fired. The manager tells him that Sungmin has to clean up all the mess. Sungmin doesn't bat an eye as he calls someone to come ASAP. The person he called was none other than the company's director. At this moment, everyone in the room realizes that Sungmin is none other than the heir of the company, the sole son of the president of the company. Sungmin leaves the company with Jian and tells him to help him instead. This is exactly like the cheesy audio story ads that always pop up on my Instagram feed. After reaching home, Sungmin is scolded by his father, who says he should learn to work from the root. His sister Gina is also there in the room, and apparently, they are not on good terms with each other. The siblings have a private chat, and Gina tells him to go back to the UK. The next day, Juhee starts working for the company as an intern. She always keeps a smile on her face because she thinks that is how she should treat every customer. She's given the mere task of cleaning the gym in the company, but she happily accepts it with a smile, even though the other colleagues mock her. Her senior colleague is annoyed and tells her to stop keeping a smile on her face because it won't get her anywhere. She says that the smiles are more suited for the employees who are working in the lobby and not for cleaners like them. The scene shifts to Sungmin, who is selecting some clothes to wear, and he is very picky about them. And then he comes across a suit with a tiger print, which he shows some liking for. The store owner says that only 3 pieces of the coat were made, and one was already owned by someone else. Sungmin is very picky about his clothes, and as a spoiled rich brat, he buys the other 2 copies of the shirt because he doesn't want to wear the same design cloth already worn by someone else. He then tells Jian to make a passport for himself quickly, as they both are going to the UK. Sungmin tells Jian that he will help him settle down in the UK. On the other side, Juhee is cleaning the gym room, and the employees there are all annoyed by one noisy customer who keeps making loud noises and disturbing the people around. The customer sweats a lot and makes weird noises that make the room feel disturbed. Juhee is told to clean the seat he was working out on. She is disgusted by all the sweat on the seat and makes a nauseous face. What she didn't know was that this guy was targeting her. She gets an envelope from her colleague, which looked like a tip but was actually a letter, asking that Juhee visit the guest's hotel room to spend the night. Juhee is disgusted and furious at this. She doesn't remember the face of the guy but remembers that he was wearing a tiger print shirt. When Juhee comes out, she sees a guy wearing the tiger shirt, which was actually Sungmin. She is furious, thinking that he is the jerk from before, and she speeds up his treadmill, making him fall down. She continues to chide him, even calling him a pervert. Sungmin is shocked at this. Never in his entire life has anyone spoken so boldly and scolded him, let alone called him a pervert. She shoves the envelope in his face and leaves the room. Sungmin is shocked by all these events and the insults. But of course, she is a female lead who has to be different from others and intriguing to the male lead. After Juhee leaves, Gina enters and asks Sungmin, when is he leaving for the UK? Sungmin is annoyed at her sister and tells her to leave him alone so he can handle his own problems. To this, Gina replies that he should talk to her with some respect and lower his attitude because she is still a guest at the hotel. On her way out, Gina stumbles upon Juhee and asks her some questions, and Juhee answers them excellently. Impressed by Juhee's smart answer and confident smile, Gina tells the employees to shift her to the lobby as a permanent worker. But the other employees are against this because she just started working 1 month ago, and Gina decides that Juhee will work for a year to become a permanent employee. After this incident, Juhee's manager gets jealous and undermines her by saying that speaking English isn't a big deal and everyone else can speak it. The manager makes a disinterested face to hide her jealousy and tells Juhee that it's just English that anyone can speak and not even Chinese. Juhee keeps her trademark polite smile on her face, responds in Chinese, and even speaks Japanese fluently. All the colleagues are impressed and clap for Juhee, while the manager is left jealous and speechless. The scene then shifts to Sungmin, who is holding an old watch intently as if some of his memories are connected with it, while getting ready to leave for the UK. As Sungmin is walking inside the hotel, Juhee is also standing near him watching the lobby. Juhee was very happy because it was her first day at work in the lobby. Both of them do not see each other and cross paths without noticing each other. That night, Juhee enjoys and celebrates her first step towards her dream job. After this, there's a time skip, and many years pass. Sungmin is completing his degree in the UK without even looking to come back to Korea once. On the other side, Juhee is living her ordinary life. The scene shifts to the present after the time skip, where Juhee is celebrating with her friends after getting selected for the permanent position in the hotel. Sungmin, after completing his degree, decides to continue to stay in the UK for his business, but he finds some documents regarding his mother. That night, he can't sleep a wink and stays deep in thought and stress. Finally, the next morning, he decides to leave for Korea. Of course, he has to do that or the storyline won't progress. Sungmin tells Jian that he is going back to Korea. Even after 5 years, Jian is still sticking with Sungmin as his assistant and taking care of everything. He knows how to handle Sungmin's anger, sadness, mood swings, dislikes, likes, etc. On the other side, Juhee is told by her manager that someone in the hotel is asking for her. The manager is still sour towards Juhee and her talents, so she tells her to handle the problems efficiently and that no complaints should arise from her work. Juhee is anxious and goes to meet the customer who is waiting for her. The customer smiles at her, hugs her warmly, and asks if Juhee arranged the wake-up call in her hotel room. Actually, the woman was an old opera singer, and Juhee knew about this and arranged the old opera songs. The woman was so pleased and impressed by this that she told Juhee that she would never forget her name. On the other side, Sungmin's flight landed in Korea, and he returned home. At night, Sungmin has dinner with his father and sister. He tells his father that he is ready to settle down in Korea, handle the business, and take the King's Hotel under his care. At this, his sister Gina is infuriated but doesn't show it and masks her expressions in front of her father. Their father talks about his late wife's memorial, and in this scene we get to know that Gina is actually Sungmin's stepsister. After their father leaves, Gina tells Sungmin that he is just like his mother, reckless. Sungmin stays in a foul mood because of this and goes out walking in the rain, not caring that he's getting wet. Jian follows him and asks him what made his mood drop. He continues to follow Sungmin, throwing his umbrella away, and both of them are drenched in the rain. Jian had already learned the art of dealing with Sungmin's mood swings. A heartwarming friendship was fostered over the years between the two. The next morning, Sungmin is getting ready to check up at the hotel and tells Jian that he has left his phone in his room. Sungmin remembers that he had left some documents in his room too, and he decides to go back and bring them for himself. On the other side, Jian calls the lobby to bring Sungmin's phone, and the manager tells Juhee to bring it. Juhee was facing a stomachache and needed to go to the washroom immediately, but her manager brushes her off, saying that the work at hand is more important. This manager must have learned from Jeff Bezos himself to deny the employees washroom breaks. Juhee goes to the hotel room in great pain. She decides to use the washroom in Sungmin's room. At the same time, Sungmin comes inside the room to take his documents and phone back. Juhee was playing with the remote in the washroom when Sungmin turned around and found her inside playing the screen. Man, I'm getting secondhand embarrassment for our Juhee. Juhee is in a great predicament and embarrassed, and she tells him not to turn around. Sungmin is adamant and tells her that he won't turn back, even if she requests it, or if she is on her deathbed. Juhee locks the door and hides behind it, trying to recover from the embarrassment. Sungmin tries to open it forcefully to take his phone back. He succeeds, but Juhee falls forward into his arms, which would have been a romantic moment for the two if not for the previous incident. Juhee is very embarrassed and keeps her head low to hide her face, but Sungmin sees her face and remembers her from the past incident 5 years ago. Of course, Sungmin remembers her face. She was the only person in the world who insulted him. If you have not been humbled a lot, you haven't seen the world enough. Sung-min follows her and tells her that she needs to apologize for two things: for accusing and insulting him 5 years ago, and for today. Juhee admits that she is sorry for today and apologizes, but about the incident 5 years ago, she claims that it was completely his fault. She continues to insult him further, saying that he is still a pervert, and then walks out of the hallway. But our Sung-min is also stubborn and arrogant. He ain't taking such shade for a second time, so he follows her. And because of this, Juhee insults him some more. She tells him that he hasn't changed one bit and is still a pervert and shameless that he is still following her. Sung-min is infuriated and tells her to never show her face in front of him again. He moves her aside and walks in the elevator alone. Juhee still gives him a business smile considering that he is a guest, and Sung-min opens the elevator door for her. Juhee sees this and thinks that he must have felt mercy for her, but Sung-min speaks in English and corrects the wrong pronunciation of a word that Juhee spoke earlier. Grammar Nazi alert! The scene shifts back to Juhee's stupid manager, who had a big misunderstanding. Jian, who came to take Sung-min's phone and document, was mistaken for Sung-min, so the manager hits on him and asks him out for dinner. She thought Jian was the son of the president of the company because he frequently came in and out of the VIP room. Well, her mistake is Jian's lottery, and he is in ecstasy as they go on a dinner date. On the other side, there was a welcoming ceremony for the managing head. Here, Sung-min makes an entry, making lots of people surprised, especially Juhee and her manager. They both knew they had messed up. Their mouths remain open, and their jaws drop to the floor at this revelation. Sung-min had to give the speech, but seeing all the smiling faces, he became anxious and confused, which reminded him of his old, unpleasant memories. Here he gives a short speech, and Juhee is told to present the bouquet to him. She hides her face and gives it to him, but Sung-min takes the bouquet and tells her, "I told you not to show your face again." Now what is left for Juhee to do? She can't say anything to his face, so she just fakes a smile and claps for him. Juhee is called to Sung-min's office later, and he asks her why she keeps showing her face to him. But it's not actually Juhee's fault. She was selected as the most talented employee of the month and had to do the important jobs and errands. Sung-min tells her that she is the perverted one. At this, Juhee gets mad and tells him that she still hasn't forgotten what happened 5 years ago, that he had sent him the hotel card to spend the night. Sung-min is shocked and asks her if his face looks like someone who would do this kind of thing. He keeps yapping at her, and Juhee can't even say anything but listen quietly. He tells him that the tiger print shirt could be worn by just anyone and that she is just blaming him without any ground proof. Juhee is embarrassed and realizes that it was her fault 5 years ago too. She is very ashamed and leaves the room. Now the scene shifts to Juhee's friend, who is a flight attendant. She is always helped by one of the guys among the colleagues. He always uses soft words and talks softly to her. Later, Juhee's friend accidentally ruins a coat for a customer and panics, but worry not. Her simp colleague comes to the rescue like a prince on a white horse and helps to fix the situation. The scene shifts back to Jian and the manager, who are seen talking. The manager treats him differently after realizing that Jian isn't Sung-min but his secretary. Now Jian is no ordinary man and asserts his powers. He tells her that in honor of Sung-min, he was going to take the manager as a guest at a function, but he has decided to take the best talent, Juhee, along instead. The three of them arrived at the VIP room. Juhee had worked for years, but she had never been to this VIP room. She's amazed by the gatherings and the exquisite, luxurious room. Sung-min comes from behind and asks Juhee why she is showing her face to him again. On the stage, Sung-min's dad is giving a speech and toasting the guests. Juhee makes a mistake by yelling "cheers" in front of the people, showing that she is not someone who belongs in such high-class event. The rich people looked at her lack of her etiquettes. The chairman also notices her as the best talent in the place and invites her to toast on the stage. Juhee gives her trademark fake smile to the chairman, but Sung-min is irked by this. He tells her that he finds it annoying and doesn't like it. Sung-min sits down with Gina and tells her to calm down because he didn't come to snatch the hotel. He is only here for some time and will leave after. Juhee was presented by the chairman with a box of tuna fish, which was very expensive. She comes back home on the bus and calls her boyfriend, but he tells her that he is busy. With the sudden stop of the bus, the tuna falls out of the box, revealing a tuna head, which surprises and scares everyone. Back home, she shows the fish head to her friends, and her friend Gayul comes in the picture, happily dancing and humming to slice the expensive fish. She reveals to Juhee that it is a very expensive fish that is worth a whole house. Meanwhile, Sung-min is invited by his father to have a drink together and have some talks at home, but he is constantly nagged and undermined by his sister, so he doesn't feel the mood to go back home. Meanwhile, Juhee was reminiscing about her old memories, where she was hugging her mom. Her mom used to work in a hotel, and this is the driving force behind Juhee's dream, to work in a big hotel like the King's Hotel. And on the other side, Sung-min, after getting his mood down due to her sister's provoking, couldn't sleep the whole night and exercised instead to sleep faster. Meanwhile, Juhee's friend Gayul was getting a promotion and became the manager of the store. She knows how to increase sales, work efficiently, and to make her customers happy. For instance, a guy came to buy sunglasses, and she praised and boosted his ego and confidence by telling him he looked like Brad Pitt. Back in the King's Hotel lobby, Juhee was dealing with a very rude customer who was actually a famous middle-aged actress. The woman was asking Juhee to upgrade her room for free, and in return, she would give good reviews of the hotel. At this predicament, Juhee's manager hides away, and Juhee is left to deal with this situation. Sungmin watches from afar, observing the situation. He comes up towards the desk and asks Juhee if she doesn't know how to deal with rude customers like the woman. He sees the manager hiding and tells her to come out to deal with the situation, while also telling Juhee to come into his office. In his office, Sungmin asks Juhee why she was talking to that rude customer with a fake smile. She answers that she must do it because it was written in the manual, and such manuals are made by higher-ups like him. Jian enters the room during the conversation and states that they have to make a promotional video for their hotel. They also have to do an interview to expose and introduce Sungmin better in the business world. And Sungmin decides that Juhee will do the interview because she is the best talent in the lobby. Juhee is nervous and feels scared because she has never appeared on TV, while Sungmin is chilling and sipping a cup of tea unbothered. Juhee feels like she's going on a battle and indulges in a casual and friendly conversation with Jian. But whenever she talks with Sungmin, she always uses a fake smile and talks in a formal, polite manner. Jian is happy and tells Sungmin that for the first time in his life, a girl has called him by his first name in just 5 minutes of conversation. The scene then shifts to Juhee going out on a date with her boyfriend. They were climbing some stairs, and Juhee is seen struggling to climb with her shoes. Her boyfriend is a sportsman and reaches with ease, but she has to struggle to reach the top. As soon as they reach the top, her boyfriend gets a call from his friends to hang out. Her boyfriend locks a love lock at the place as a sign of their everlasting love and tells Juhee to leave together and hang out with his friends. Juhee doesn't want to go, but she is persuaded by him. As soon as they reach the hangout place, the scene shifts back to their love lock, which gets unlocked and falls down on the ground, foreshadowing their breakup. Now back at the hangout, Juhee is surprised to see only a few male friends of her boyfriend, while the majority of them were all females. Her boyfriend sits down with the girls, enjoying the drink, acting drunk, and having fun, while Juhee is left alone by herself among the strangers. She is disappointed and bored with her boyfriend's antics and gets up to leave the place. At this, her boyfriend gets up and stops him from leaving, telling her that they would leave together after he says goodbye to them. He goes back to his girlfriends to say goodbye, but he is made to drink and have fun by his friends, leaving Juhee alone. She gets fed up by his actions. She scoffs in disappointment and leaves the place silently. Meanwhile, Sungmin was in his office searching for the names of some of the employees in the hotel. He tries hard to find something that would lead and connect to his mother's whereabouts, but in vain. He's disappointed and upset and leaves the office to go out for a walk and cool his head. Juhee also comes to the same place to cool her head. They both stand a few meters from apart but never notice each other. After some time, both of them leave, and the scene closes, skipping to the next morning. The next morning, Sungmin is standing in the airport waiting for Juhee and Jian. Juhee enters the airport wearing a pretty white casual dress. Sungmin sees Juhee wearing outfits other than her uniform and thinks that she is pretty, and he can't take his eyes off her. He is so lost in his own thoughts that he doesn't even hear Juhee wishing hello. In order to cover his embarrassment, he asks her why she was late. He notices Juhee and Jian standing next to each other closely and separates the two of them in anger. Why is he already acting jealous? With all the chaos, Sungmin's suitcase drifts away and hits an uncle who is tying his shoes. Seeing the uncle's angry face, Juhee and Jian are scared and point out to Sungmin that he is the one responsible for the incident. Juhee and Jian let Sungmin handle the situation himself. Sungmin is someone who doesn't know how to interact with others normally and properly. He keeps his trademark stoic stone face and looks straight into the uncle's eyes and just gives a short apology in a million Korean won. I hope he hits me and apologizes too. Sungmin knows the power of money and uses it to get his ends met. He even does a bit of a smirk at the uncle, and the uncle apologizes instead, and was even ready to help move Sungmin's suitcase. Juhee and Jian are surprised at how that situation turned out, thanks to the power of money. After they reach their destination, a sports car is waiting for them. Juhee is surprised and amazed to see such luxurious and expensive sports car, and to sit in such a car. But Sungmin is very rude. He starts the engine and waves at them, smirking a little, telling Juhee and Jian to get a cab for themselves. Sungmin was driving alone in his sports car while the two of them were cramped inside a cab, following from behind. As they reach the hotel, Sungmin gets a call from his father, who tells him that the interview is extremely important. His father tells him that he must perform well, because this was Sungmin's grand entry into the business world, and it will affect both the business and their stock rates. At the interview venue, Juhee is getting ready to revise her scripts for the interview. A woman enters and gives Juhee a new set of questions and tells her that the questions have been changed, and this was sent by Gina. This was all a trap set up by Gina to confuse and humiliate Sungmin in front of the media. The interview set is very mesmerizing, with all the decorations, the natural lighting, and the view. And when Sungmin made his entry, it felt like all the venues had lightened up because he was so handsome looking. Juhee continues to stare at him. Seeing how well-groomed and handsome Sungmin was for the interview, Juhee was getting more nervous. She looks at his handsome appearance without blinking her eyes, and Sungmin notices her reactions. He tells her that she looks very scared because it's her first time appearing on TV. Juhee doesn't take it very well and teases him by taunting his hairstyle. Sungmin doesn't understand her teasing and searches on Google what she meant, which shows a picture of a cow licking a man's hair to put the hair in a neat manner to the side. Sungmin understands now what she means by cow-licked hairstyle and gets mad, but before he gets a chance to get mad at her, the interview starts. The interview was not a pre-recorded one, but a live interview. Sungmin's father was also watching the live interview at the moment. On the other side, Gina was very happy because she knew the trap she set up was going to take action soon and humiliate Sungmin. The first question in the new list was about Sungmin's mother. The question instantly makes Sungmin's face grimace and freeze. Juhee, seeing his shocking reaction, gets nervous herself because he was not replying to anything. She continues to try to keep the mood happy and smiles at him, trying to lighten the mood. But Sungmin couldn't take it any further and gets up and leaves the live stream. He doesn't even let Jian follow him and goes to a secluded place to calm himself down. He's having a panic attack and some of his bad old memories come flowing back to him, hitting him like a train. He recalls that he doesn't even remember his mother's face, but meanwhile at the interview set live stream, our Juhee is handling the confusing and embarrassing situation very well. She smiles throughout and says in front of the camera that she once came to the King's Hotel with her mom when she was just a child, and that day was one of her best moments in her life. At that moment, she had decided that one day she would like to work at the King's Hotel. All the employees and her manager watch the stream and praise her for being such a good speaker and a professional in her job. Just then, Sungmin returns and sits down to continue the interview again. He asks her to show all the questions. Seeing all the questions, Sungmin throws away all the papers of questions and tells her to ask some more important questions rather than such trivial chit-chat matters. To cover up the embarrassing situation, Juhee says that the sunset view behind them is very beautiful. They both stand up to see the sunset, and the interview comes to a close with a very excellent photograph. After the interview, Juhee is annoyed by Sungmin's actions and tells him that he is the heir of the company so he won't get fired. If anyone is getting fired, it's her. She tells him that he threw a stone at her just for his fun, but did he realize how much that could have hurt and affected her? Sungmin keeps his stoic face and approaches her face gradually, telling her that it was her who threw the stone at him, not the other way around, and that it had already hit him badly. What he meant by this was the question Juhee asked about his mother. At this moment, Jian comes and tells them that their photo at the sunset has gone viral, but they don't care and stare into each other's eyes in anger. Neither backs down. Proper enemies to lovers scene. Sungmin had only one thing left for him by his mother, which was his old pocket watch, which he carries around everywhere. He doesn't remember her face or anything else. His old traumatic memories would come back to haunt him once in a while, making him miserable. The scene then shifts to Ji-young, another close friend of Juhee who is the air hostess. She is shown taking a weight check and she was scolded by her manager because she put on a few extra pounds. At this moment, the Prince Charming who helped her before, aka the simp, takes her side and tells the manager to also check his weight to be fair. Ji-young thanks him for helping her like that, and he tells her that she is beautiful no matter what, and should not care much about gaining weight or staying on a diet. She also gives him a gift for helping her last time, and the scene shifts back to our main couple, Juhee and Sungmin. Our male and female leads are getting ready for a photo shoot in Jeju Island for the promotion of King's Hotel. The photographers are directing Sungmin to smile, but apparently the face muscles that make one smile have long been deactivated for him. They tell him to smile because then he will look even more handsome. But Sungmin doesn't respond to them and keeps his trademark stoic face on. It seems like he has never smiled in his life. Sungmin and Juhee are told to make love signs and heart signs posed to promote publicity as their last sunset photo and interview was a hit. However, Sungmin is having trouble trying to make a heart sign and posing. The photographers just give up and tell themselves that they will just edit and Photoshop. Juhee tells him to smile at least once, but he tells her that he can't put on a fake smile like hers. To this end, Juhee tells him that he just doesn't know how to even smile, and she doesn't expect anything from him. This makes Sungmin's ego hurt, and he takes it as a challenge. Well, he got played by someone who knows how to push his buttons. Sungmin takes on the challenge and smiles. But instead of a smile, it was a smirk. And instead of being handsome, he was looking like a creepy man. The photographer decides to just Photoshop his picture by editing his smirk and making it symmetrical from both sides to make a smile. After the photography session, Jian comes to notify them that they have to get on a small boat and hold a fish to get another photo shoot, and he leaves after notifying them. Sungmin and Juhee get on the boat and get ready for the next shoot. Juhee gives cute poses and expressions while Sungmin was a disaster. The poor photographers can't even say anything to him at this point, so they just surrender. After the photo shoot is over, the crew's boat has already left while Sungmin and Juhee's boat faced some problems and couldn't start sailing. The boat's captain tells them that they should go to the nearest island and stay there for the night as a storm is approaching. Sungmin is against it, but the captain gives him a reality check. He tells the rich boy that they are not at the king's hotel, and he isn't his employee, and thus they start sailing towards the island. By the time they reach the shore, it is dark and chilly on the lonely island. Actually, Sungmin is scared of the night and the dark, but he didn't want to show his weakness in front of a girl, so he tries his best to hide it. He makes up excuses and tells Juhee that he is walking behind her since he is keeping an eye behind in case something attacks them. This way he could save them both and fight the attackers. But as they were walking along, a chicken attacked Sungmin and he got very much scared, but he quickly covered it up, saying that there is no such thing as fear in my dictionary. Sungmin then walks in front of Juhee and confidently shows his boxing skills to prove that he is a strong, masculine guy who is not scared of anything. But he soon halts to a stop and sees an old woman with gray hair and white dress who was looking at them in a creepy way. Seeing this, Sungmin doesn't even have time to react. He straight out loses consciousness and falls on the ground. After some time, he regains consciousness and finds himself in a room full of talisman and weird, creepy masks. He runs out to see two old couples smiling and creepily cutting something with an axe in their hands. He fears that he got into the hands of some serial killers and tries to escape while searching for Juhee. He jumps out of the room and falls on the ground, falling directly in front of Juhee, who was standing there. Juhee clears his confusion and fears and informs him that they are actually safe. It was an Airbnb and the two old couples were actually helping prepare dinner for them. The old aunt tells them that both of them look like husband and wife, and even if they aren't, so they will eventually become one. This woman seems to have the power of foreshadowing. Both of them scoff at each other and get angry, telling the old couples to stop teasing them like this. At this, the old uncle interrupts them by saying that if they are done with their love fight, they should start eating dinner. Juhee and Sungmin are still making faces at each other with annoyance. They sit down to have dinner and the old aunt gives them their special drink to drink. She tells Sungmin and Juhee that it is a very strong and special wine and few people can't drink it without getting drunk. Sungmin, with his competitive nature, doesn't back down and challenges Juhee when he sees her taking a big bowl of wine to drink. Juhee also doesn't back down, and both of them continue to challenge each other until they can't drink anymore. Sungmin is starting to get tipsy, and he tells Juhee to not smile, and even continues to tell her that he warned her not to show her face, and especially her smile. Juhee slowly gets angry on hearing this. Influenced by the alcohol, Juhee forgets for a second that Sungmin is her boss and smacks his forehead directly, and insults him, saying that he is just a spoiled rich brat who doesn't know any manners. Sungmin also doesn't back down and lashes at her, telling that she's also a double-faced, hypocritical person who always puts on a fake smile all the time. Both of them are hammered at this point, and they engage in the conversation further casually. Juhee doesn't take his insult to heart and smiles at him because she doesn't care. She then tells him to give her one more glass of wine. Her mood suddenly changes in her drunken state and she tells him that his life is so good and he can do anything he wants. He can smile wherever and wherever he wants, but it is not the case for her. For her, smiling is a necessity. It's her job. No matter how hurt or sad she was, she had to smile nonetheless. Actually, something traumatic happened in Sungmin's childhood. A terrible incident happened when he was just a kid, and the scene shows some adults smiling. But the real story of the incident is not revealed just yet. The incident made Sungmin panic and get anxious when he sees people smiling, especially fake ones. As he was remembering his old memories, he catches a smiling face of Juhee. She was smiling genuinely with a stupidly cute look on her face after seeing a cute small fan in the backyard. Sungmin finds her smile beautiful and looks at her. His mood changes suddenly and he tells her that she shouldn't smile anymore, even at work and mostly in front of him. Juhee is too drunk to care and smiles again at the fan. The scene zoomed to Sungmin's eyes, who was looking intently at her smiling face. The scene ends with them waving goodnight to each other and going into their respective rooms. Fast forward to the next morning, Juhee wakes up and remembers everything that happened last night, and she gets embarrassed. As she is stretching her body, she slips on the curtains and falls over Sungmin, who was still sleeping. Turns out they did not go to different rooms, but it was the same room split into two by a curtain in between. Sungmin wasn't actually sleeping, but just closing his eyes. He playfully asks Juhee how long she was going to lay on top of him. At this, they both realized that the room arrangement was done on purpose by the old couple to trick them into being together. Juhee suddenly remembers her drunk behavior towards her boss and gets nervous that he would scold her for her actions. But surprisingly, he doesn't do so, and the two of them lean on the window frame and watch the serene sea view of the island. They both get ready and dressed up to leave the island, but the old uncle lends his cycle to Sungmin, telling him that the island is very beautiful and he should roam around to see the landscapes with his wife before leaving the island. For the first time, Sungmin is not angry that the old couple referred to Juhee as his wife. He approaches Juhee and offers her for a ride. She is hesitant at first, but eventually gives in and sits behind him. The two of them embark on a little journey and find themselves enjoying the scenic view of the landscape. And after so many scenes, we are blessed with a scene of Sungmin smiling genuinely. And worry not, with Juhee by his side, he is going to continue smiling like an idiot. The two enjoy the conversation with each other, and this continues to put a smile on Sungmin's face. As they reach their stop, Juhee offers him some coffee and tells him that some things are not resolved with money, and they must be resolved with other means. She tells him that some things are meant to be appreciated with a simple, genuine thanks. As they get ready to leave, the old aunt charges them with huge sum of 6 million won. Sungmin tries to pay through his phone, but the old aunt is a boomer who doesn't know how technology works and gets angry that he is trying to trick them. At this point, their previous boat sailor arrives and takes the old aunt's side. Sungmin and Juhee realizes that it was all a planned-out trap. The boat was purposely made to have problems so that the two would stay in the old couple's house, and they would charge a hefty amount of money for it. Juhee, observing the situation, calculates the correct amount of money to be paid inside her head. She shows the bill with the correct calculations, which sums up to actually 3 million. And the old couples were actually trying to reap extra money off them. She threatens them by saying that the old couple should come clean, and if they are not honest, they would be reported to the police for frequently trapping people and ripping them off. Sungmin was impressed by Juhee's quick thinking and calculations. They board on a boat to leave, and Sungmin tells her that he could have easily paid the money, but Juhee tells her that rich people like him wouldn't know the worth of money. She states that poor and middle-class people like herself, who work hard, know that money doesn't grow on trees, and to top it all, money should be earned honesty through hard work, and not by using underhanded means. Sungmin is impressed again by her words and smiles at her. They both soon reach their own respective homes, and Juhee is shown chatting with her friends in their apartment. Juhee and her friends have their conversations and congratulate Juhee for becoming more popular. They tell her that her boss is a very handsome and charming man, but Juhee denies it. She tells her friends that he is handsome, but his looks are nothing special because most rich people look handsome as they can spend money to look and dress good. She is forgetting plastic surgery. On the other side, Sungmin returns back to his home and enters the house nervously. Just as he enters the room, his father comes in and scolds and quarrels with him because Sungmin had made a disaster of the live stream interview. His dad questions him what was wrong if anyone asked about his mom, and he could have just told his own thoughts on it. He also remarks that it was thanks to Juhee that the interview was not wholly ruined and handled the situation well. Sungmin argues back that the company has got the publicity and the views that they needed. So why was his father taking his anger out on him? Gina was also present in the room, hearing all the father and son argument. She looks pleased at the outcome of her plan. His father continues to yell at Sungmin that he should only care about the stock and the business and should not involve his personal feelings in the business. Whatever his forefathers had left, he should be properly able to maintain and bring profit and growth to the wealth and business. Finally, his father pushes him to the edge by saying that he should stop being curious and staying hooked on his mother, and if he cannot refrain from doing that, he is allowed to leave the household. Sungmin doesn't back down. He stands up for himself and talks face to face with his father that he isn't going anywhere unless he knows the truth of some things. After his father leaves, he turns towards Gina and asks her why she did such things. He had no plan to fight with her regarding the company. He was disappointed and asked her why she stooped so low to the point that she had to gouge out the uncomfortable topics of him. The scene ends and shifts back to Juhee, who is talking with the chairman. The chairman and Gina praises Juhee for being the best talent for 2 years and compliments that Sungmin did a great job hiring someone professional like Juhee. They all clap for Juhee and she gets a promotion. Juhee's manager doesn't show a happy face at this. She just stays looking disinterested, but she is jealous deep down. Juhee not only gets her promotion, but is also transferred to the 5-star hotel known as King of the Land. Everyone was happy for Juhee except her manager, who continues to be jealous of her. Meanwhile, Sungmin was in his office and looking at Juhee's pictures. Even though he doesn't want it, he keeps staring and looking at Juhee's photos from their promotional shoot. He thinks her smile is cute. 2 days ago, he was saying it is fake and irritating. He can't stop looking at her photos, and while he was zooming in on her pictures with his eyes, Jian enters the room. He was actually knocking at his door many times, but Sungmin didn't hear anything. So Jian barged in, and he asks what he was looking and smiling at. He bends down to see his laptop. Luckily, Sungmin changes the pic of Juhee to himself, and Jian thinks that he is a narcissistic idiot who smiles looking at his own pictures. He also brings and shows the photoshopped pictures of Sungmin, who was smirking. His creepy smile was edited to a more cuter one. Jian left the photos, but Sungmin kept looking at Juhee's pic even after that. As he was scrolling through the pictures, an ad popped up on his screen. It was a logical test quiz ad which wrote, "Do you want to know if you have a crush on someone?" He is interested in the ad and takes the quiz. He thinks carefully and answers every one of the questions. At the end, the result came which suggested that he was definitely in love with the person, but it is one-sided love, so he should have courage and confidence to tell whatever feelings he has for her. Sungmin picks up his confidence and courage and walks towards Juhee, but he gets shy every time he sees her. He gets nervous and hides, and he cannot approach her at all. All his hero-like image breaks down like a glass, but he looks very cute and handsome doing all these actions. At this moment, he sees some biscuits in front of him. He remembers these are Juhee's favorite biscuits she ate back in the interview set. He asks the workers to wrap it up nicely to give them to Juhee. As soon as he gets out of the hotel and tries to approach and call out Juhee, she meets with her ex-boyfriend, Myuu. Myuu hugs Juhee tightly and Sungmin sees this. Our male lead is heartbroken at this scene that was unfolding before him. He didn't even try to know if Juhee was single or not. He comes to the conclusion that he was not suited to get her love. He enters emo mode and thinks that he always knew he was late in accepting and knowing his own feelings. His stoic, stern, and heroic image is now down the drain. He is now sad and heartbroken. All his superiority complex is thrown out of the window. On the other side, after Sungmin had went back, Myuu was trying to talk things out with Juhee. He kept apologizing to her again and again, but that scumbag of a man did not even know what wrong he did to make Juhee sad and disappointed with him. Juhee finally decides to give him another chance to sort things out and tells him to go somewhere to have a nice meal together and have a chat. But even today, Myuu is in a hurry to leave and hang out with his friends. He tells Juhee that they should go to a nearby stall and eat quickly and chat because he already has a dinner plan with his friends. Hearing this, Juhee heart breaks. She wonders how could Myuu be so clueless. He took things for granted again. Juhee takes her hand back from his grasp in a disappointed manner, but Myuu is still too dumb to realize his mistake. He thinks that she is mad because she wanted to eat somewhere better. Juhee was almost choking on her tears and told him that their relationship is over. Even after Juhee is so utterly heartbroken and sad, he is picking his friend's call up and deciding on their dinner menu. Juhee leaves him alone and walked away, and the scene shifts back to Sungmin, who is driving back home. He is thinking what was wrong with him to be feeling so pathetic and desperate. In his rage, he throws the bag of cookies out of his car, which he actually brought to give to Juhee. But luckily, at that moment, there was a police officer on duty who stopped him and wrote a receipt for littering, making him pick the gift up. LOL. The officer asks if the gift was for his lover, but he couldn't give it to her because she had found another lover. Sungmin was shocked and surprised by this deduction and listens to him. The officer continues to tell him with confidence that the girl he liked was probably extremely beautiful and smiles a lot. The policeman seems to be an experienced man in the field of love and can judge a book by its cover. Now, hearing all these revelations from this stranger, Sungmin had accepted him as his love mentor in his heart. The officer is also an emo heartbroken man, though. They both sit on the sidewalk and start chatting about their loved ones, singing heartbreak songs. He advises Sungmin to never give up and says that he should learn how to fight for love. Uncle took the "you don't stop scoring a goal because there is a goalkeeper" quote personally. The officer tells him to have the courage and tell his feelings, or he would stay regretting for the rest of his life like himself. After sharing all this advice, the officer leaves. On the other hand, Juhee was crying in the bus alone. She was still trying to heal from her breakup and did not know whom to call. So she called her grandma and told her that she missed her and her cooking, and she would visit her tomorrow. The next day, Juhee visits her grandma. Her grandma runs a small restaurant and helps her. At the end of the day, Juhee is happily eating the homemade cooking by her grandma. Her grandma starts to engage in a conversation asking Juhee that when would she get married. Even her friend Gayul has got married, and even has healthy babies and a family of her own. She continues to tell Juhee to end her friendship with the air hostess Jiyoung, or she would also end up single just like her. Nobody instigates marriage more than Asian grandparents. Her grandma also tells her to pack some dinner and take for his boyfriend, now her ex. At this, Juhee makes a disgusted face and tells her grandma that they have already broken up. Juhee had feared that her grandma would be sad hearing it, but her grandma smiles and lovingly caresses her face, assuring her that it was a good thing they had broken up because he was a shameless and a useless man. Grandma continues to assure Juhee that it was his loss only that he had lost a woman like Juhee. She continues to tell Juhee that she doesn't care about wealth or fame, and she genuinely wishes for her to be together with someone who truly loves her. Meanwhile, Sungmin's father, the chairman, was inside a room having a chat. Actually, he went to meet his friend, who also had a hotel known as the Royal Hotel. The two hotels were competitive, and the Royal Hotel had the lead by one category over the King's Hotel. Mr. Chairman was furious back home and vented his anger out on his two children. This reminds me of my dad. Mr. Chairman yells at Sungmin and Gina that he had left the hotel under their care, and they let Royal Hotel take the lead. He furiously tells them to quickly pick themselves up and increase their revenues and leaves the room. After their father leaves, Gina teases her Sungmin, telling him that there was no need for him to work hard because he didn't have any brain. Gina tells him that she would take care of everything. Meanwhile, the scene focuses back to Juhee, who is getting ready to be transferred to a first-class hotel, King of the Land. Her new manager comes to pick and introduce her to the new lobby. Her new manager was a pleasant and kind woman, unlike her previous rude and jealous manager. The new manager takes Juhee around the lobby, showing the places, explaining the qualities and designs of the place. Many rich people come and spend so much money and wealth in this 5-star hotel that their one-day stay would equal all the other lobbies' revenues. Juhee wears her new uniform and gets ready for her new step towards her dream. Meanwhile, Sungmin is in his office feeling dazed. He is not interested in doing any of his work. He just sits there thinking about what the police officer had told him. Jian comes in the room and continues to try to talk to him, but Sungmin is in his own world. He snaps into reality and starts arguing with Jian for disturbing him. At this moment, Juhee enters the office with her new manager to greet Sungmin. On seeing Juhee looking so pretty in her new uniform, Sungmin couldn't stop looking at her. In order to look cool and unbothered, Sungmin sits in his chair fixing his coat. He turns to the new manager and tells her that even though Juhee has been transferred to the first class, she is ill-mannered and she needs to work hard to learn good manners and sophistication. After taunting Juhee like this, he sends them away. After they left, Jian tells Sungmin that he's acting like he likes Juhee and can't help but taunt and speak rudely to her because he cannot express his true feelings. Even after being caught in 4K, Sungmin snaps back and tells Jian that Juhee is not his type and he doesn't like her. Jian reacts at his actions and tells Sungmin that he cannot even handle a small joke. How could he handle a girlfriend in his life and he will stay single? At this, Sungmin makes a mess of Jian, chasing him out of the office, throwing the papers and files, and Jian runs away. Meanwhile, our innocent Juhee is bullied again by her new colleagues. Her new manager was nice to her, but all the other staff were rude to her, always trying to compete with her and bring her down. Juhee's colleagues start undermining her and look down on her after their manager leaves. They taunt Juhee that they are all worthy of the place, and they all have graduated from different world-class elite universities, while Juhee was just a normal, ordinary student from a normal university with only 2 years' degree. They continued to taunt her that she reached such a big stage with ease, and since she got things easily without hard work, they were going to give her a tough time. Some employees even talk among themselves that Juhee reached such a place by buttering up the chairman. On the other side, Gina was walking furiously with a sour mood. It turns out that she just doesn't handle the King's Hotel, but also owns the store where Juhee's friend Gayul works. Gina goes around the malls and stores making new rules and regulations. She even fires some employees at the spot. She is also managing the King Airlines, where Jiyoung also works. Gina barges inside, makes new strict rules, scares the staff, and continues to fire some of them. The staff were all very afraid of her. Meanwhile, after hearing the news of Gina scaring off and firing the staff, Jian is having a conversation with Sungmin. Jian tells Sungmin that one day Gina is going to come and remove him too, and that Sungmin should also arrange a meeting with the staff of King of the Land. After hearing this, Sungmin suddenly remembers Juhee and tells Jian to plan the meeting soon. At the meeting, Sungmin is secretly stealing glances at Juhee. After some time, he tells the staff about the future plans of the hotel and dismisses the meeting. After it, Sungmin is in his office looking at Juhee's contact number while facing the dilemma if he should call her or not. He doesn't have the courage to call her and instead texts her to meet him after the shift is over to discuss an important thing. He takes a deep breath nervously after sending the message and then keeps on looking at his screen for her reply. But hours pass by without any response, and Sungmin, feeling anxious, doing push-ups in the room to pass the time. He doesn't do any work as he is hooked up waiting for Juhee's reply. He even keeps an hourglass and occasionally checks his screen every minute. On the other side, Juhee was at her apartment with Ji-young. She was unbothered and didn't even had Sungmin's number. At some point, Sungmin had even called her out of desperation, but Juhee and Ji-young were just chatting, talking about how Gayul was the luckiest and best one out of them all. Gayul is always working hard and giving everything she has got to her job. She is also talented, and her life is going well. Well, as they say, the grass is always greener on the other side. Gayul's married life is a mess where she has to do everything on her own. Her in-laws were lazy. They will eat and won't even wash the dishes. After her long day at work, she has to look after her daughter while doing all the housework. She goes out to pick groceries and calls her husband for help, but her husband dismisses her by saying that he has an important dinner meeting to attend. He tells her to go to sleep early because he will be late. Meanwhile, the next morning, Sungmin is shown who couldn't even sleep a wink because he kept waiting for Juhee's reply. Fueled with frustration, she goes to meet Juhee and tells her that he has something to talk to her about. Juhee shows him the menu, and Sungmin, not even the slightest interested in the menu, asks her why did she ignore him and didn't reply to his text. Juhee is a little surprised, asks him how he got her number. Sungmin tells her that he checked and took it from the CV and asks her if she didn't have his number, and then hands her his business card. Juhee takes his card and tells him that she didn't have his number because she didn't have access to his CV. Sungmin rudely tells her to meet him for dinner tonight, but Juhee asks him that what kind of attitude was he putting up in inviting someone out for dinner. Sungmin thinks for a moment and changes his attitude. He smiles a bit and politely asks her out for dinner again, asking her to come for dinner tonight if she doesn't have any appointments tonight. But Juhee politely bows at him and declines the invite. She tells him that she cannot go for dinner because the staff would start a rumor about them. At this, Sungmin is very angry because it took all of his courage and confidence and asked her out for dinner, but still got rejected. Back at the office, Sungmin gives a task to Jian. He tells Jian to do what he wants, but by tonight he wants a dinner appointment with Juhee by hook or by crook because he is a rich boy who gets everything he wants. The scene then shifts to Ji-young. A pilot was trying to harass her during a flight, and not so coincidentally, this jerk is her ex-boyfriend. At this moment, her junior comes in and invites her for dinner tonight. The two of them go out for dinner that night and have a chat. She tells him that she doesn't feel good enough or talented enough like her other colleagues. The junior smiles at her and tells her that for him, there's only one wonderful girl in the world, and that's Ji-young. Back at the King's Hotel, Sungmin was in a happy mood as Jian had managed to book him a dinner appointment with Juhee. He happily walks inside a Japanese restaurant where Juhee was waiting for him. As he enters and sets foot in the room, he sees Juhee standing up and smiling and greeting him politely. But as he advances, he realizes that the whole staff was present in the room, so it's a group date, but with like a dozen of third wheels. Everyone was happily enjoying the dinner, and Sungmin was stealing glances at Juhee. He observes Juhee and realizes that the Japanese food wasn't really to her taste. He turns to Jian and tells him to order steak. If not from the hotel they are eating then, from any other hotel. He tells Jian to bring the best steak from the best chef. After that, many impressive and mouth-watering dishes are presented before Juhee. Seeing this, her other colleagues are even more jealous because she was getting treated like a queen. After the dinner, Juhee calls Sungmin to meet up and have a talk. Sungmin was in his own imagination. He thought Juhee was calling him to thank him, but he got just the opposite. We see a little furious Juhee who is reprimanding him and telling him to stay away from her. She tells him not to order special food for her nor give any welcome dinner for her. She continues to reprimand him, telling that his actions are creating a turmoil among the colleagues. His actions are creating the sparks of anger because she is getting treated differently, and they are slowly turning their back against her. Her work and daily life has become a struggle because of his actions. Back at Juhee's apartment, her friends surprise her and throw a birthday party for Juhee. They had fun enjoying the meals and dancing, but her friends didn't know that Juhee had broken up with Myuu. Meanwhile, Juhee had called Sungmin a spoiled, rich, immature person who doesn't care about others the night before, and he asks Jian if he is actually like that. Jian couldn't help but laugh and tell him honestly that he is obviously like that. As Sungmin walks back into the office, his sister was sitting on a table holding and playing with a pocket watch. It was Sungmin's precious pocket watch, the only memento from his mother. Sungmin approaches her to take back the watch, but Gina threatens him, saying that he should not shove his nose into the company's affairs. She tells him that she won't spare him if he ever tries to meddle into the company's affairs. She even taunts him, saying that no one will remember his name, just like no one remembers his mother. She mockingly tells him to throw the watch away because it's too old. This made his heart break and struck his childhood trauma memories, where his sister did the same thing. She once played with the watch, throwing it away in the rain. The next scene shows Juhee with her colleague, who was supposed to entertain the rich guests, but her senior forbids her from speaking anything, thinking she would ruin the mood, and mostly because they look down on Juhee. They walk towards the room, and some of the guests in the room recognize Juhee because of the TV interview she did with Sungmin. They smile and ask Juhee to suggest which wine they should drink. Here, Juhee takes a name of a wine, explaining the special characteristics, and recommending that this wine would go best with their meal. The chairman is impressed by Juhee's quick and logical thinking and praises her, telling her that he had picked up a gem who really deserves to work there. As soon as Juhee and her senior leaves the room, her senior scolds her not to act over smart. He scolds, asking her why she didn't name the most expensive wine, because that is how they increase their revenue. Meanwhile, Sungmin was checking records to find clues about his mother. The employee handling the data asks who he is searching for, but he doesn't reply. On the other side, as Juhee gets off her shift, her ex-boyfriend Myuu comes to patch up things and wishes her happy birthday, giving her bouquets. He thinks Juhee was angry all this time, thinking they didn't break up at all. How dumb can he get? Juhee loses her last nerve and says many rude things to him, and finally ends the conversation, telling him not to follow her again. Juhee goes out for a walk and cries as she reminisced her feelings and memories. She had loved her ex-boyfriend, given him all the love and attention, but he was still a clueless jerk who took her for granted. Juhee goes to her usual point, where she always goes to clear her mind. The rain starts to pour down, but she stands there devastated by her heartbreak. At this moment, someone walks from behind and covers Juhee with an umbrella. The man was actually Sungmin, who usually comes to this place when he needs to clear his mind too. The two were shown to be visiting this place whenever they felt their mood was off, as shown in other scenes. Sungmin tells her that the point where she was standing was actually his usual spot. Juhee tries to leave the spot, but with all the slippery mud and the rain, she slips and falls in Sungmin's embrace, and he helps her up. The scene shifts back to when he was searching some files and documents related to his mother. The only reason Sungmin came to work in King's Hotel was only because he wanted to connect the dots and find information regarding his mother. But everything seems to be in vain, as he finds no whereabouts regarding his mother in the employees list. Because of this, he was sad, and on his way back, he encountered people who were smiling at him. This makes him remember his old childhood memories when his mother left, and everyone in the mansion gave the same fake smile to him. The people around him used to smile at him instead of comforting and trying to understand him. He remembers all the people who smiled at him fakely, and this was so creepy to our young Sungmin. So when he was remembering his mother and encountered his employees smiling at him, he didn't want to remember his old memories. Feeling sad, he left for his usual spot where he went whenever he used to feel sad. But to his surprise, there was Juhee standing there in his usual spot. Now back at the present scene, Sungmin stops her from falling down and tells her that it was surprising to see her showing other emotions like crying because she smiles all the time. Hearing this, Juhee leaves him and walks away. Sungmin, feeling guilty, follows and stops her and tells her that she will be leaving together with him in his car because of the rain. They get in the car together and drive back. On their way back, Sungmin asks Juhee why she forgot her umbrella. Juhee starts talking about her umbrella, but that reminds her of her ex-boyfriend. She told Sungmin that if the umbrella is hard to handle in the storm, she should just let it go, hinting at her ex, whom she should have given up and let go earlier. Sungmin was a sensible and intelligent person, so he could understand what she was hinting at. Juhee tells him to drop her at the bus station, but she falls asleep on the way. Sungmin affectionately covers her up to warm her and instead takes her somewhere else because he didn't want to wake her up. After some time, he wakes her up saying it's her birthday, and they should eat some nice meals. Sungmin gives her a bag and tells her to change since they both are drenched in the rain. Juhee goes to the washroom to change, and when she comes out, she notices that they were actually wearing matching dresses. She feels awkward with their matching clothes and goes back to change. But Sungmin stops her and tells her that she can't change it. They sit down to have dinner, and all the people and staff there think that they are a couple. Seeing all their glances and gazes, Juhee feels weird and awkward. Even a staff member comes to click a picture of them together. Sungmin knows how to act unbothered, He pretends as if nothing was wrong. He tells her that he brought whatever outfit he saw in the mall. He doesn't have all the time in the world to waste it in putting effort into choosing a simple outfit for her. But in reality, he was trying hard and putting all the effort into buying her outfits and shoes. He would measure her shoes and the length of her outfits so it would fit perfectly like a glove. He was caring and very sweet behind all his stoic and rude appearance and attitude. He just didn't have the courage to tell her and show her his feelings. Juhee is feeling awkward again, seeing all the different varieties of dishes. She tells him that she will pay the bill, but when the bill arrives, she lets out a scream of surprise because it has 2 more zeros than her entire net worth. Sungmin takes her card away and gives his card to pay. After that, Sungmin drives Juhee back to her apartment. As Juhee happily thanks him and walks towards her apartment, Sungmin stops her and gives her a gift. It was a cake, and he tells her that it was made by the best chef in the hotel, hoping that she would love it. He is feeling shy and embarrassed doing all this because he never gave this kind of treatment to anyone, let alone a girl. As the two share a blossoming romantic moment, Myuu comes in between them, killing the mood, because he is, was, will, and always will be a killjoy. Shamelessly, Myuu accused Juhee that she left him because she found a new guy and was two-timing with Sungmin. At this, Juhee was getting very furious. She tells Myuu to leave and tells him that if he ever bothers her again, she would call the police and handle him herself. After furiously scolding Myuu, Juhee leaves and goes inside her apartment. Myuu was also preparing to leave, but our hero Sungmin comes in and grabs his wrist and starts twisting it. He threatens Myuu that if he ever follows Juhee again, then he himself would break all his bones. Sungmin was mad that he went out all of his way to make Juhee happy and smile on her birthday, but her ex-boyfriend had to come in the picture and ruin everyone's mood. After Myuu leaves, Sungmin was proud of himself. He was also very happy after confirming that Juhee had broken up with her ex-boyfriend. He sits inside his car and gives a call to Juhee and tells her that he forgot to wish her a happy birthday. He goes on to wish her a happy birthday and adds that if her ex-boyfriend continues to annoy and follow her, she should report to him. He also adds that she should do it because he is a good boss and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to his employees. He tries very hard to not arouse any suspicion of his feelings towards Juhee. Sungmin drives way back home with a stupid smile on his face after that. He keeps the Polaroid picture of them together, which one of the staff at the hotel took, and keeps smiling at the picture. Meanwhile, Ji-young is shown with her colleagues who is sarcastically scolded by their manager because their team came first in terms of having the worst and lowest sales. The manager scolds them to increase their flight sales, or else the whole team would be fired by Gina. She returns home back to their apartment after a bad day. As she enters, she sees the outfit which Sungmin had bought for Juhee and is surprised. Gayul and Ji-young sit on the couch and interrogate Juhee, who was sitting on the carpet. They continue to throw questions at Juhee, asking who bought her the dress and the shoes, but Juhee denies it, saying that it is nothing like they think. She remembers what Sungmin had told her, that he had just picked randomly without any efforts. She takes this into account and tells her friends that she had bought it randomly without any thought or consideration. But her friends are too smart and experienced to be tricked by her lies. They prompt Juhee to buy a nice gift as a return gift for the expensive gifts the guy had given. Ji-young and Gayul then turn back to showing the catalogs of their stores to Juhee to make her buy some things. Ji-young was so desperate that she begged and crawled like a zombie to beg to buy her things. Meanwhile, the next scene shows Sungmin in a meeting the next morning. Gina was also in the meeting and everyone was discussing the approaching Farmer Week, which was almost always handled by the staff of the King of the Land Hotel. This time they were supposed to do the same too. They were to go to the farms and present gifts and shoot videos and photos for promotion of the company. But Sungmin was clearly against this idea. He tells Gina that his department staff won't do any of such useless things. Back at his office, Sungmin stares at the Polaroid picture of him and Juhee all day. He keeps looking at it, lost in his own thoughts, but as soon as he hears Jian enters the room, he quickly hides the photo. Unluckily, Jian catches on and snatches the photo from him and catches him red-handed once again. Sungmin is still trying to act cool and unbothered, telling Jian that it was nothing but a birthday dinner. But Jian knew how Sungmin was. He was with him for so many years that he knew how he can be so timid with his feelings, and how he always tries to act strong and unbothered. Jian teases him, telling him that on his birthday he and Sungmin did not wear any matching outfits, so why was he discriminating against him? They run around the office as Sungmin tries to take back the photo and give him a beating. As usual, our poor Jian is chased around by Sungmin. Meanwhile, as her friends had suggested, Juhee has bought a return gift for Sungmin. She texts him if he was free after work. Sungmin, in an attempt to look cool and undisturbed, replies back with an attitude that he is very busy. He immediately regrets and shakes his legs and again texts her that he will be sure to make some time for her burr after it. Juhee never replies back. Feeling frustrated and embarrassed, he goes to meet Juhee face to face. He is fixated on knowing why Juhee didn't reply to his text. He even takes the tray off Juhee's hand and asks her why she didn't reply. Juhee says that she was so busy with her work and she couldn't use her phone during working hours. Sungmin smiles at this and tells her that he would surely meet her after her shift was over. The staff's eyes are all fixated on Sungmin. They are all charmed by Sungmin's gentleman personality, which he only shows towards Juhee so far. They walk up towards Juhee and told her that Sungmin was like a hero with all his charming personality and handsome face. After the shift is over, Juhee secretly goes towards Sungmin's car and keeps a present inside. She is very pleased and happy with herself about it. As soon as she was about to leave, Sungmin pointed at his car and asked Juhee to go to dinner with him. Juhee tells him that she would treat him to dinner and then takes him to her favorite stall, and they have to wait in a long queue for their food. Sungmin was tired of the waiting because he never had to wait for anything in his life. He always got what he wanted and easily got up to leave. Juhee also stood up and was also acting arrogant, but she was also desperate to treat Sungmin to dinner. Sungmin changes his tone and mood and tells her that he loves the experience of waiting. Ah, the lies we tell for love. Finally, they get to go inside and take their seats. Sungmin tells Juhee that it is the first time he has eaten in a place like this, as he is used to eating at a luxurious place. He is surprised and amazed seeing the beer the place provided, thinking it is some cheap beer. At his words, Juhee opens her mouth wide and gasps at his reaction. She tells him not to drink it if he doesn't like it, but Sungmin chugs down the beer in one go. It is a new thing for him. He felt good experiencing such a unique experience in some local stalls. He even gets up and excitedly clicks the photo of the heart-shaped omelet that the chef made. He spends a pleasant time with Juhee and leaves the place. Sungmin invites her for dinner another time, but Juhee declines him, saying that it was awkward to have dinner with just the two of them even once, and so both of them shouldn't meet again. But Sungmin is too confident and egoistic to back down. He tells her that she should start feeling comfortable around him if she feels uncomfortable. Basically, he rejects her rejection. He tells her that she should learn to feel free and comfortable around him, because from now on, they are gonna meet up often. The scene then shifts to Gina, who was talking with her husband. Her married life was deteriorating into crumbs. That's expected to happen because all her focus is on making Sungmin's life hard. Her husband wants divorce from her because he loves someone else and wants to start anew. But Gina calmly sips her glass of wine and tells him that until she inherits all the properties and become the chairman of the King's company, she doesn't want any scandals. She even allows him to date in secret, and she doesn't care what he does behind her back. She just wants him to keep low and not do anything that will disrupt her image in the public, which would hinder her inheritance. Next day at work, Gina tells Sungmin that he should prepare his employees for the Farmers' Week because they get profits from it, and they should associate themselves with such works to improve their profit. Back at Gayul's store, the same celebrity auntie which was rude to Juhee in the beginning was also making a scene at her store. She is taunting Gayul the same way she did Juhee in the hotel lobby. She had brought a dog inside and let it carelessly run around the store. But Gayul was very cunning and knew how to deal with such rude customers. She, using her wits, makes the assistant of the auntie clear the dog's feces. Back at the King's Hotel, Juhee was repeatedly calling and dealing with the customers, talking politely with a fake smile on her face. Sungmin noticed her expressions and knew that she didn't like doing such works. He approaches her and tells her that she shouldn't do something which she didn't like, but she just smiles and tells him that she has to do such work because she gets a handsome amount of pay for it. Sungmin is angry and contemplates in his office. Jian enters the room and Sungmin tells him that he has decided to send the employees to Farmer Week. He finally decides to take control of the situation in his hands. That's all for this video. Tell us what you think about it in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Check out more videos on our channel and don't forget to subscribe.